Hello, this is Galen Martling, design team member with Unity Stamp Company. I have two cards. They are coordinating cards, and I'm using direct to stamp card technique with watercolor and ink. And I'm showing how to do this with one floral stamped watercolor panel, and I'm making a frame out of one, and I'm using the inner part for another card. So for the stamping, I have Unity Stamp Company, Say It With Love, and also Patience. I have my Creative Time rectangle frame dies and frame die layers, and I'm going to use that to make a frame for the card. Now, I placed the stamps, the sentiment, and all of the leaves and florals that I have there. I place them into a stamp positioning tool, which is the original Misty in this case. And I have alt new watercolor half pans that I blended with water, a few different colors, and I'm going to begin by using a brush and coloring and painting directly onto the stamp with watercolor and a brush. And so on the bottom of the letters, I used the darker teal, and on the top, I used a lighter shade of teal, and I used variegated colors for the florals and the leaves. And so I do this multiple times until I fill the stamping, the sentiment, and the florals with what colors I think I want to use. Now, it never turns out the same twice, so I am going by luck that this is what I want to come, that's what's going to come out is what I want. And so now I go ahead and I carefully stamp that right onto watercolor paper. Watercolor paper is important for this particular technique. Then I heat set it. Now, the sentiment didn't come out as crisp as I would like, so I went over it again with a little bit less water on the watercolor, and I just blotted it onto a paper towel before I added it to the stamp. I want to get a little bit of darker shades on that, and it's still going to come out a real artsy look, very watercolory look. You can keep it the same way. You can just keep it the way it's stamped there, and it looks just natural watercolor look. I decided to go ahead and heat set that and add a little bit of lining with Staedtler Tri-Plus fine liner pens, and I used outlining with a pen around the hello. And so that is not necessary. That's just what I chose to do to have it pop out a little bit more and show a little bit more contrast. Now I'm going to add some more leaves. I placed them where I wanted them to stamp onto the positioning tool. And then once I got them where I wanted to be placed, I added some more color just to fill in more of sort of an oval around that sentiment. I wanted it to be floral and leaves all the way around. I stamped on a oversized piece of cardstock, piece of watercolor paper, so that I could have enough room to play around with the framing and the dies that I want. You can also use just a regular paper trimmer to get these cutouts. And so I cut out the outer part as one big rectangle, and then I used a smaller die to cut an inner part. And each of these are going to be used on different cards. And so for this second card, I am stamping with Distress ink right onto the stamp. I'm using two colors of Distress ink. One is Peacock Feathers and Distress Oxide ink in Wilted Violet. And so that gives a similar look without watercolor for that second card, for the inner panel on that second card. And so now I use that outer frame of watercolor to frame that stamped hello on the first card. And this is a try I did on color paper. I didn't like how it came out on the mint, so I just stamped on white. And so now if you're going to stamp with watercolor, use watercolor paper, and that's this inner panel there with the outlining, the added outlining that I used for the card. And there you have it. It's really, really fun to do this technique. It is an artsy look, and it never comes out twice the same. And so there you go. I hope you give it a try and use different inks and colors, and let's see what you get. Thanks so much for watching, and please take a moment to subscribe to my YouTube, like and share, and have a great day.